Emily, correct me if I'm... Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Sorry.
Okay. If I pronounce your last name wrong, please correct me. Housey, right? Housey?
Mm-hmm.
So Emily Housey, a dynamic branding expert, founded Housey Design in, 2017? While a full-time student, her passion for brand strategy led to the agency evolution from custom artwork to a successful design firm. You're 25.
Mm-hmm.
So that's ridiculous because I'm just like, you're 25 and doing all this stuff. How do you time manage everything you're doing?
You know, that's not as much as the hard part as, I'm so sorry. I can't.
No, we can cut this part off.
Okay.
Take your time.
No, you're going to just keep hearing them. I don't think that is necessarily the difficult part as much as figuring out, like, your priorities and what's important to you. And what really kind of, like, got me going, like, entrepreneurially, it was the book 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Have you read it?
Yeah.
I love it so much. I just, like, built, like, kind of my foundation for my business, my work ethic based off of the book. And, I'd say, figuring out, being honest with yourself and figuring out what's important to you. And so, like, in college, like, when I was starting this, obviously, I think I prioritized my business, my friends, really over school, pretty much. I would say, like, there's a few relationships with, like, teachers and stuff that, really helped me and, that I would prioritize. But, like, in figuring out, like, what my values were, like, I would always want to be the person that, like, shows up for, like, if you invite me to your birthday, like, whether, like, we know each other well or not, I always want to be the person that shows up. Mm-hmm. So I guess, figuring out, what was important to me, like, developing, like, a personal mission statement. And I think that came before, balancing everything. And so then it kind of just falls into place based off of, like, what's important to you and just making time and planning out. If I don't plan out my week on Sundays, like, I will get nothing done. So I have to do that.
So I saw one of your TED Talks you did in Mizzou. You said during in high school, you were always the person that sat alone at lunch and just wanted to be the person that made friends. So which kind of made you push yourself out your comfort zone. How was that though?
Yeah, it was tough because I moved from Michigan when was it? I think my junior year. Yeah, the start of my junior year of high school. And so it went from Catholic school my entire life to public school, moved a week before school started, Naperville North. And it was like Mean Girls 2. It was just, well, like this made it 2 and then the movie sucked. But anyway, it was just not great. And so it was, kind of like figuring out, making friends, but also like reinventing myself. And so what kind of like built the foundation for Housey Designs was, I call it like the letter A story. Mm-hmm. So I, when I was invited to like one of this girl, her name was Alexa. It was like her birthday party. And it's been months since I was invited anywhere, like to do anything. And so I really just, focused on making her feel special by kind of like going above and beyond like what anybody else was doing and, making something specifically, for her and like who she was. Which kind of like built like foundation for, what Housey Designs is and my marketing strategy and, how I, talk to people about like doing paintings and stuff. And, I think it created like a connection between us. And, I built off of that. And then, I painted her like a cardboard letter A with a giraffe on it because she loves giraffes. And then she got every single girl got her like Lululemon leggings, like $100 leggings. Like, she like, I remember her watching it, like go through it and just being like, oh, like whatever. And like, thank you. And then she saw mine and she like lit up. Mm-hmm. She's like, oh my God, like, how did you know I like giraffes? Like, it just showed that I paid attention to her, and so I try to like implement that into everything that I do. So.
But 2017, you were a senior in high school, senior or junior? No, you were a senior.
I was a senior, yeah.
You were a senior. So that came about because of what you went through. So how did you schedule that? How'd you organize that? That's just the thing that I can't really understand. How'd you organize that at that time because it sounds like you were going through a tough time. Mm-hmm. So how did you organize that going through those clouds?
I would say, I'm a very firm believer that your story's written when you're at your lowest moments. So it gives you like a really powerful, it gives you like a lot of power in like when you're at your lowest or like when you're even like at those lows. It's like, what you do next you're going to be telling people for like years and years to come. It's like however you handle this situation is like you have the power and control, the story. And so when I was like, super low, it really, it forced me to go really outside my comfort zone. I actually when I was in the midst of all that, I went to Italy with my choir, and we sang at the Vatican.
Oh,
like, it was just like, I didn't know I was I was close with maybe like two people. It was Kate and Izzy, and like other than that, like, and they also didn't like me. A lot of the other people like in my choir afterwards when we were on the trip, they're like, okay, well, like we got you wrong, and I was like, thank you. A lot of people's first impression of me in high school and college was like, oh, she's a bitch.
Okay.
For some reason, I don't know what it was, but after I got to know them, and I think really getting comfortable being uncomfortable. When I was younger, I think I had to learn that really quick, and then it kind of made me really resilient. And now it's just, barely anything gets to me.
I like when you brought that up because I saw in your video that you said I forgot the artist. His name was Dick Louch.
Dick Loker, yeah.
Loker, your neighbor too, aka. You said lesson number 4 or 5. You said don't compare yourself to other people, and you said that same story. You said that people perceived you very arrogant or whatever,
stuck up, and
that stuck out to me because that's the same way I feel like people take me sometimes. But I like that too because it's not cockiness, it's confidence. And I like how you feel that into when they get to know you, they see the other level and they get to pick your brain who you really are.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think especially when you're younger, I feel like you can't recognize what confidence looks like. It's like you immediately think, oh, cocky, full of themselves. It's like there are barely any like people that are actually like confident in high school, college. Everyone's still figuring it out, so I feel like it's just not really recognizable then too. Then you just get mislabeled. And
well, they do say confidence without evidence is delusional.
Yeah,
right. So but I feel like you already had so much under your resume that backed up because I saw your resume already. You collabed with big people that we'll get to later, but you gave a TED talk. You were chosen like 1 out of 5 students to do presentations. You gave 3 motivational talks to 3 different schools. I'm pretty sure more too. You were offered, and you're just 25, right?
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people can't really say that under their belt, and especially if they were bullied, or like went through that tough moment in high school. Like, just people have to give you your flowers. That's something that's not common. You know what I say? And it's really impressive. What inspired you to keep going on, like I said before, like through those clouds? What did you see? What vision did you see to keep going? Like, what's your end goal?
Well, I guess like when I first started, I didn't see anything. And I'm like, oh my God, like I guess it started initially as like, this is my way to make friends. So then Alexa's friends kept asking me like, oh, like, can you paint like, my dog on this one, or I'm going to this college, or I want this for my grandpa. And like, so I just kept making them, and I didn't really know anything about business really. I was like barely making a profit on it. Like I was just like, oh my God, like, I didn't really care about it. I didn't really see it as like, I'm going to make this into a business. I was more like, I'm making friends doing this. So I really don't care. Like I'll charge next time nothing, and like people want to pay me. And so I do like, it was really cool. And then, so then at the end of the year, I was like 2 months away from going to college. And then, my dad sat me down and he said, I just bought you an LLC. I'm like, I don't know what that is. I'm like, okay. He's like, you have to pay me back. Like right now it's like $200. And I'm like, where the hell am I going to get to? I'm like, I just got all my grad money now. I'm like, I don't even know what this is. And so we sat there, we came up with the most bullshit business name. It was so horrible. And I'm like embarrassed by it, but we like had to come up with something like right then and there in order to like, like officially like file like the LLC. And he's like, he told me the story that, his goal was always to buy my grandpa his dream car, which was a Lincoln.
Okay.
And so he told me, like, as we were, like, filing, like, for the LLC, he's like, just so you know, in advance, I would like a souped-up Corvette. And so, like, that's always been, like, I'm like, I have to do that. So it's always been a goal of mine. And so I didn't really do anything with, like, whatever. So I didn't really do anything for, like, a year. So then when I went to college, again, same thing kept happening, but this time it was like less to make friends, more of like, oh, like Emily can paint, she'll do it, because there's so many things in like Greek life that like centered around, painting stuff for some reason. It was, whether it be like canvases for like big little reveals, and I went to Missouri.
Yeah.
So it's like pretty heavy like Greek life.
Was there a reason why you went to that school, Mizzou?
Honestly, I didn't know anybody going there, so I was just like, oh, I loved that. You know, like I wanted, I kind of struggled to reinvent myself the first time I moved, and like this time, and I'm like, I'm ready to like, you know, I got it down. Yeah, I got it down. I'm ready to like, you know, start fresh. And so then I, what was it? Oh yeah, so people like, you know, need like coolers painted or Strotskys painted for like when they went on formals and stuff, and they would always ask me like, oh, can you paint this and whatever. So I'd do that again, like barely for like any money. And then I remembered like, oh, I have this LLC, and so for Missouri you can get in-state tuition if you stay your your summer of your freshman year, and you make certain like $2,000. I don't know if it's $2,000, like whatever, like in the state of Missouri, and you stay there, like you're resident there, like for the summer. And then so I worked at a restaurant, but I'm like, I started kind of making my first goal, and I reached out to actually like Alexa's dad, Ian Haldeman, who was a great mentor for me. He really kind of like, you know, like lit the fire and like held me accountable. And he's the one that like we would make me read like a few chapters of like 7 Habits or like a few other books. And then like we'd have like reading reports, and he'd call me back, and like we'd go through all of it. So he was so hands-on and so amazing, and I owe a lot to him. And so my goal was to make $2,000 from my paintings alone. So I really like started working, and so I think it really started, I got so into it, I started like falling in love with the business side, which really surprised me because I loved painting and stuff, but I'm like, I fell more in love with doing, you know, creating this business and, you know, growing it, and I just became addicted to it.
How'd you know what to charge your painting? Because I would draw 3 dots and I'll fucking tell someone $500. So what would you do to like make those prices?
Oh my gosh, I used to sell Strotskys for $70, now they're $500. It was like, you know, definitely like a lot went into it, and it took me a little bit to figure out what you know worked. And you know, at that time my market was college students. I'm thinking like, obviously like college students want this, and I realized they have their parents' money. I'm like, they're paying for this, they're using someone else's money. So I kept, you know, slowly like, you know, grew it like more and more, and I had 11 people working for me at one point, and I got entrepreneurial grant in my own store space, which was super fun, and I loved that. And so I, you know, obviously like had to be able to like pay them out, and like take care of like my artists. I wanted to make sure like, you know, like they loved what they were doing too. And now I structure it as how much do I want to do it? Not that much. I'm charging more.
Okay.
But if like I'm really like inspired by a project, now I think is like rarely will I like minimum right now is like 500 for like a Shotsky, or
that's
like
crazy.
1,000 for like a beer pong table.
Fuck.
Yeah. So
that's expensive.
Yeah.
That's pricey. Oh my God.
You bet, you know, there's a market for it. People will pay for it. So.
Yeah, you're right though.
Yeah.
But still, you were still in college and you had 11 people on your payroll. 11 people on your payroll in college. That's like shocking. How'd you micromanage these people at such a young age? I'm assuming they were college students too as well. Yeah. So how did you make them believe in you and your vision?
There's a saying where it's like, and this was in my speech too, but I say like, you know, if you shine a light on them, it shines back on you twice as bright. So I think I went into it with, now what can you do for me? Obviously, you know, if I like interviewed them, if they didn't know anything about me, I'm like done. I'm like, I don't care if you're like the best artist ever, which was another rule of mine, is I'm never going to hire somebody that's not as good as me. I'm like, all my artists were better than I was. So I'm like, you know, I had like that standard set, but I wanted them to believe in me by like believing in them, and like whenever, you know, they painted something, I wanted, you know, to highlight it. I wanted to make them feel, you know, as special as I could, and because you know, like without them, like I couldn't have done like any of it. And so I do like, you know, like team like paintings, and so they'd come over to my house, we'd like drink and paint together, or like we'd go and like, you know, get bottles at like one of the clubs, and like, all go out together. And no, they were so amazing. They're so awesome. And
are those 11 people still with you today, or?
So not anymore. I think, you know, when we all I didn't know really how to scale it when it came to like, you know, my senior year, everyone was going like somewhere else, and COVID hit also. And so that was a lot. And I have a few artists that, you know, if I need them, I can reach out to them and work with them a lot. I have one girl, Kylie, who's my main girl. She's still at University of Missouri. But I had, at that point, like my senior year, I think leaving it, I'd really transitioned to like 90% design and digital. So it wasn't as much paintings because I found out like that's where the money was. But now it's like really fluctuating. So it's still learning, but it's so much fun. I'm so like could do it like all day, all night.
Well, it's trial and error. You were learning along the way too.
Yeah.
When you were learning how to do this, did you find like managing 11 people kind of difficult? And I'm assuming that you just jumped into it right away. How was the trial and error trying to manage people at such a young age?
Oh yeah, that was not easy, especially because I learned very quickly, do not hire your friends because you might have to fire them. That was not easy.
Sucks.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I had them as all as like kind of like independent contractors. So I would have all these projects come in, what they'd get paid if they did it, and so they got to pick whichever like ones like they wanted to do, and it worked really well. And I wasn't able to, so I got to pay like the artists whatever, and so for the people I couldn't pay, so I had like people that did like social media for me, finances, and all that like C-level suite stuff. And so how I got them was a practice that my dad does with me, which was, like create your future resume. It's like, what do you want to be able to say about yourself, and like, what do you want to accomplish? So I went to the business school and I said, like, become like CFO as a college student.
Okay.
And so I'm like, I will give you the title. I'll give you whatever you want. You tell me what you want in your resume out of this internship, whatever, and we will make it happen.
Jeez.
Yeah. So one of the girls, Madison Reed, who is, I think she was the second girl I hired ever, and she's just so great. And she had like her own like entrepreneurial like idea that like she wanted to do. So I'm like, let's make it happen. And so we like met about it and we talked about it, and we actually I went in as Housey Design. She went in as her idea, which was doodle beds into Entrepreneur Quest, which was for a pool of $25,000.
Okay.
Winning prize. And so we had like these like classes like every like Tuesday night, and we go together. But I'm like, hey, like you want to make it happen? Let's like game plan it. And like that's something I'm good at, is kind of like creating the operations plan.
Okay.
I love doing so.
Collabing. No. It sounds so tough because you're collabing and making all this stuff. I would have been stressed out. I would have threw a fit. I would cause a scene if I was you.
Oh, my grades were so bad, and I
Shit.
like. Oh yeah, like
Dude,
I was doing my business full time. And
so you were a full-time student, full-time business, and I'm assuming too you also took care of yourself for your mental health on part of the side.
oh yeah, and then I was also in a sorority, so we had to do like like certain hours, like do things, and then, oh my gosh, what else? Oh, I also played club volleyball for a while. So I was like on that travel team, and then the year I didn't do that, I coached, which was a lot. But yeah, I was doing. That's kind of a blessing and a curse, is I love doing everything.
Well, you're super organized, and we all know that already. I feel like the city already knows that too. So when you became very organized, I know a crucial factor was you made like a certain organizer schedule book called, correct me if I'm wrong, Begin?
Yes, I'm so sorry. My brother.
Oh, no, it's fine.
Never calls me. Hi, what's up? How are ya? Do you need something? Can I call you back? Oh, shut the fuck up. I'm literally recording a podcast right now. Okay, love you too. He's like, you don't want to talk to me? He never calls me.
Brother love, man.
Oh, yeah.
Is everything okay, though?
Oh, yeah, he's fine.
Okay.
He's like, what? Annoying. Oh, I love him so much. Sorry, what was your question?
No. You started a schedule. You started like a little binder, Beginner, with one of the dance moms, Christy
Lucasiak.
Yeah. How did you even meet her first?
So, well, the planner started like back when I read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And so I started, and I'm, again, like you said, like very organized, but I'm also very particular. And so I could never find a planner that worked for me.
Okay.
So I literally started creating my own. I found like, little like planner or like binder from like Staples, and I would go to the library, and I knew where they hid the good, then very nice paper. So I'd take it and I'd like print out like, like every month, like, the planner like the way that I wanted it. Because nothing came close like to what I was making. And Christy came to speak at my sorority, and it was like virtual, and I grew up on Dance Moms, and I've watched it was like my thing after volleyball practice. Like when I was younger, I'm like, I watched Dance Moms and I ate my popcorn because I watched my mom, like her thing was like Oprah. I'm like, well, Dance Moms is my thing. So I loved it, and like it was like one of my favorite things. And so when Christy like talked to us, I was just like starstruck. I was like, oh my God,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's the coolest thing ever. And so, you know, she told this like very vulnerable like story about like you know, like overcoming like obstacles in her life that were super personal. And then at the end of it, for like an hour, every single question was about the TV show. There's not one thing about what she just like talked to us for a whole other hour about. Not one person asked about what she said.
Wow.
And it bothered me so much. And so I'm like, I'm not gonna speak up and be like, oh, like,
You use her, yeah.
what about your past? I'm like, how's like, and so because everyone was like so into it. Clearly, you know, she was really excited, like, you know, having a great time answering questions too. So I reached out to her and I just said, hey, like, you know, it was very, I loved the story that you gave, and you know, I felt like you know, you really spoke to me, and you know, I'd love like any like advice that you'd have for me, and you know, kind of like really wanted to show her that I really listened to what she said, which I don't think anybody else did, especially when they were asking questions. And then she looked me up. She looked at, you know, my business page, and she was like, oh my God, like this stuff is so cool. Like let's work together. And, you know, I'd love to like do something with you. I'm going on a vacation in Aruba, but I'm going to be back next week. Pitch me something.
That's dope.
And I'm like, pitch you what? I don't know what to do. So I called my right-hand girl, Delaney Barnacle.
Okay.
Incredibly talented, amazing. Like I could not have done half the shit that I've done without her. She just like had my back. She's like one of the hardest working people ever. She now works for Saks on Fifth in New York.
Okay.
I'm so proud of her. And so I called her. I'm like, Christy wants me to pitch her something. I can't do this without you. I don't know what to do. So we were like, okay, we can do like, you know, she's super into social media and like branding and like influencing, you know, with like working and like collabing with brands and stuff. And
Right.
we're really good at, you know, design and aesthetics and branding. So she called us. She was in the middle of a mall, like FaceTiming us. I think she forgot we had a call. Like the next week, like Delaney and I have been prepping for this for like every single night, like leading up to it while she was on vacation. And she was literally Christmas shopping, I remember. And she was like, she sat down in like the food court and she was like FaceTiming us. And
Okay.
she said, okay, what do you got? And so we were going through this whole presentation. You kind of could see it on her face. She was like, whoa, like they did a lot more than like we thought. She goes, okay, we're going to reschedule this. And I'm going to like actually like listen like to what you have to say, because she was like impressed by it. And then, you know, we worked with her with, you know, creating like, you know, like some, you know, like ideas like for her social media and managing it, and, you know, like a few like little like branding projects here and there. And she mentioned one time before about, you know, doing a digital planner or something like a book or whatever on like Etsy and selling it, and or on her website. And I just literally made my planner and like I've had it for like 3 years at this point. Like the like still nothing came close. And so Delaney and I got together. We pitched her the idea. We're like, let's do this. And like, it can't be digital. Like, it's got to be, you know,
Physical.
Yeah, it's got to be physical. And, you know, it's all or nothing. I'm like, we got to go all in, or, you know, nothing.
You showed me too. It was phenomenal. It was like a Bible. It's like a brick, but it kept you organized.
Then the back is a section called the Boss Bitch Bible. So you're not wrong. And so, oh shoot. Oh yeah. So basically, we pitched it to her, and she loved it. But we pitched it in February.
Okay.
Which meant if we were gonna, you know, because we were gonna make it for, you know, who her audience was, who was basically me.
Yeah.
You know, like grew up on Dance Moms, like college age, and so that planner would start in August.
Okay.
So I'm like, we got like 5-6 months to like get this in print, ready to ship, and like ready to go.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So 5 months, Delaney and I, we found the manufacturer. We found like a printer in Detroit who like I still use today. I've interviewed so many people, like called so many different people on it, and like created the business plan, the marketing plan, social plan. And, you know, made it so it was like scalable. Like we worked with another girl like on creating the website. Delaney like micromanaged that, and then we created this whole like launch event. We were gonna do it at Mizzou because I had all the connections there. So Christy flew out to Mizzou and with her girl Brittany, and we just had like the best time together launching the planner, and then we sold out within 4 hours of launching it.
You can't say how many copies, right?
Internationally.
Oh, internationally.
Yeah. We didn't have that many in print, but it was like a few hundred
Jeez.
of them, and it was nuts.
Within 6 months, that's okay. So like you went through all that stuff. So what were the failures? Because I know there was a couple setbacks.
Oh my God, there's so many.
How did you deal with that, having that pressure in 6 months?
Oh yeah, I mean, first of all, I think I thrive under pressure.
Okay.
And I it's almost like a procrastination flaw.
Mm-hmm.
But I had a teacher like explain it in a way that I'm like, oh my God, this makes so much sense. It's like, not if you like do it at the last minute, but I'm like, if you can get it done in an hour when it would have taken you, maybe like 3 days, like over the span of 3 days to do something. So it was just like, go, go, go. And I just like thrive off that adrenaline.
Jeez.
But I would say about failures, like I have like a saying for myself as far as that goes, but it's failures if you stop. So, and I was, mistakes, like it's so hard for me to look back and say like, oh, that was a mistake, because I always like learn from it. So like it's hard for me to like pinpoint them, I think. And then, failures if you stop. And if you give up, if you quit, which almost happened like twice. And so, because we couldn't get, one of the things was we couldn't get the planners shipped in time to Missouri.
Jeez.
For the launch event. And so Christy called and was like, I can't, like, we got email from the manufacturer, and she was like, I can't, we're done. I'm telling them it's not happening. I'm going live like on Instagram. Wow. And I'm like, we're not going to do this. And I was like, give me 1 hour. I'm going to figure it out. And she was like, nope, we're done. I'm like, nope. I'm like, we are doing it on this part. And so I'm like, Delaney, you talk to her. I'm figuring it out. So I drove to Detroit,
right?
Got the planners, and my dad's Yukon like truck, brought them to Missouri. I was like, screw it. I'm like,
That's like an 8-hour drive, huh?
And the printer like met me halfway, too. And so I'm like, it was so generous of him on a weekend too. And so we loaded up the planners in the truck, got there, and it was awesome. That was like one thing that was like, it almost didn't happen, but it was so amazing.
Well, that's how you network. That's how you build your reputation. You came through, did all that. That's crazy. That's insane. That's a cool story. That's a cool story to go.
Thanks.
Jeez, 8 hours. Okay, so everyone just sees the success, but not like the failures and the trial and errors that you go. No one's gonna. Have you told that story before? Like what you did, like driving 8 hours away?
I think I've told it like I feel like I've told it before, but
that's crazy.
It's like, I think I'm like in everything that I do, I'm very scrappy, and I'm like, I will come up with a very unconventional way to figure it out. But I'm like, I know there's an answer in it, and I'm gonna
figure it out. Yeah. God damn. Okay, so you were still in college at this point.
This is like when I started in February, graduated in May, launched it in August.
Okay.
So I was like, I'm going out.
You just graduated.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And that's when you kind of pivoted to you stopped on that for a second. You put a pause on it, correct? Are you going to retouch on it or open that door again?
Absolutely. I think it's like one of the best things I've ever designed.
Okay.
And so I'll definitely 100%. I'm going to revive that at some point. I've actually started working on it today.
And you said you did horrible grade-wise, right?
Oh, not horrible grade-wise. I just...
C's get degrees. You can't forget.
What? Oh, yeah. I was always really good at school. But I just never turned shit in. And it was yeah.
But you still passed either way.
Oh yeah, no, I still passed. And then I also found out I was dyslexic. With a journalism degree, so I got F's on all of my papers, and that was so hard.
You found out in college that you?
I found out my junior year. Yeah, that is a bitch and a half. Yeah, I'm like, oh my God.
But hey, it's not the grades you make, it's the hands you shake. And that's what you did.
Literally, yeah. So I had great relationships with my teachers, and a few times I think I missed 3 final exams by accident. I was just like, I had so much going on.
By accident.
Good at, I literally we were on Zoom, and you had to present, and they're like, all right, this is the order we're going in. They said my name. I'm like, I didn't do it. And so I emailed the teacher, and I'm like, and so he knew me, and we had a good rapport with each other, and he's like, all right, you can do it next time. I was like, that was 3 final exams.
Dude, that's clutch.
Yeah, but I'm like, you make that relationship with the teachers.
With the professors. No, that's clutch. Okay, so when you pivot out after August and stuff, you started working a little bit more with your dad that I'm aware of.
So no, that didn't happen. Oh, I guess.
Because you were 22 at this point, right? 20, yeah.
Yeah. I was 22, and so I started working on. I became partners in a business which was head shop booker and Good Side Media. And then so I did that with my 3 business partners, Tony Tafe, Dan, and Peter Hurley. So I was doing that, and then also doing Housey designs and figuring out how to scale it. And then in January, which was, I guess like pretty close to like in that time frame, my dad was like decided, he's like, fine. He's like, I'm going to write a book. And he's like, I want you to do the cover. And so I'm like, great. And I'm like, I can't do it until I read it though. He's like, well, I haven't started. I'm like, all right. Okay. But yeah, we worked on that for like 2 years.
2 years?
Oh yeah. That was, well, he wrote it and then found this publisher and editor. And I was like, can I jump on like your call with them? Like when he like had it written and stuff. And so I'm like, I have a few questions. And so I had made this plan. I've made the planner.
Yeah, okay.
I've made like several, like, you know, like either like whether it be like mock-ups or like books and like things like that. I pitched to like international clients.
Okay.
Like, deck design and all that stuff. And so I'm like, my dad, so supportive. I don't think he understands what I can do, but he thinks I can do everything, but he just doesn't know what that is. And so I'm like, let me get on the call with this editor and publisher. And so I asked like a few questions about like, you know, what programs that they were using to put it together. And they said Microsoft Word. I'm like, absolutely not. I told him that I'm like, I will be doing your book. I'm like, I'm designing it. Jeez. And I'm like, I think, you know, it was so special. I try to read, obviously I'm dyslexic. Okay. It takes me a minute. Okay. To read books. I was always late on like my like book assignments with Ian Haldeman. I maybe it's because there were some parts about me in the book, but I read it with like one sitting. The whole book, like cover to cover. And like, I was just like, I'm like, I have to do it. Like, I don't trust anybody else to do this but me. I'm like, sorry, I'm involving myself and I'm doing it with you. Right. Know? So we worked on that together which was so, you know, so fun and like such a fun thing to do. Like, you know, with my dad, who he's built an incredible, you know, reputation like for himself, and his work ethic is, you know, something like I've modeled myself after, and that's something that he writes about. So, you know, it was really cool, like, working with him on that.
And he had a reputation already before. You mentioned that he went to dinner with the Clooneys or George Clooney, or...
Well, he works... So he's the VP of Southern Glaciers. Okay. VP of Southern Glaciers, Illinois. Okay. And then now he's the GM over in Indiana. So he's works with a bunch of alcohol brands. Yeah. That, like, a lot of the celebrities that are, like...
That's what the money is, yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, he's worked, like... So he's met like a lot of the celebrities that like started tequila brand, or not tequila brands, which is like alcohol brands for the ones that his company sells.
I don't know if you can talk about it, but any brands that you can name or that?
Mine, A18 tequila.
A18. Well, I was gonna touch on that too. How did you get? You made that? I know how you made that connection, but I'm gonna ask you again. How did you make that connection with 818 tequila brand?
Yeah. Well, again, my dad's met a bunch of like I would say almost every celebrity that Southern Glaciers sells, or you know, at least talk to them like over Zoom and stuff like that. And I've never been allowed to meet anybody. And he's telling me, he's like, oh, guess who I had dinner with? Or like, oh, like, look at this. He'll send me a picture of him and like Conor McGregor. Oh my God. This. And I'm like, I can't with you. It only takes my mom. And like, that was something that was like, we never got to go.
Oh my God.
And then.
Was it for protection or what?
I don't know. I don't think he...
To rub it in your face?
Never. It was never that. It was just like, I think, it was just something cool. Like, him and my mom like always did, I think.
That's cool.
And so when Kendall Jenner came to town, I think him and he asked me like 2 hours before, but he was like, he like looked down like the guest list, and I think he was like literally asked my mom, and my mom's like, I don't really want to go. Like, the sign looked meant to many. Not really. But he's like, do you want to go meet Kendall Jenner? I was like, what? Yeah, I'm going to meet Kendall Jenner. And so we went. She did. She stopped by Abilene on the park, and you know, there's a bunch of people from my dad's company there who now like I work with like day to day, and I met the president, Mike Novi, and Logan Solomon, and Kathleen Brain, and they were like basically the team. as far as like I knew, like at that point, like it was like barely like they're just starting out, and you know, I hit it off with them, and you know, Logan, I was just like inspired by like how he was talking about the brand, and you know, like behind like the label and like the ideas about it, and so I've just had such a great time like talking to them like about like the actual brand, and then a few months later, you know, they didn't have anybody, they don't have no one in the Midwest. So they, anytime they did an event, they'd have to fly someone out from either like New York or LA to do it. And I met Dora, who now does like, works for like A18, like expanding it like internationally. And she's like one of the most impressive people like I've ever met. That we had such a great time at like this like P-Volve event that A18 put on. And after a little bit, I think Mike, the president, called my dad, and they're like, hey, like we're looking for somebody in Chicago, like would your daughter be interested?
Jeez.
And he was like, no, she wouldn't. He's like, no, like she's working on her business, like she's busy. So, he didn't tell me that for like 3 days later. He's like, yeah, Mike Novi called, and he was like, you know, reaching out about like, you know, if you're interested in working at A18. And I'm like, oh, my mom, and I'm like, you know, wait, like, what did he say? And he's like, no, I told him you weren't interested. We're like, call him back.
Pissed
like,
right there.
Call him back. So, yeah, and it's been, I think one of the things that was like super scary going into it is like, you know, I've been working on my business for like years at that point, and I about had like a breakdown like before the first day, because I'm like,
it's your big break.
Well, I felt like I was giving up on Housey Design. I was like, I don't know, like, I'm like, I knew I had to get out of my parents' house. I'm like, I cannot live here anymore. But, you know, working at 818, it's been, you know, it's a small company. I'm literally the only person, well, I guess, on the sales side, like in the Midwest.
Okay. You were the 25th person to be put in that spot. Impressive, too, as well. Geez, 25th person. And you're a market manager for Illinois and part Indiana, too.
So, yeah, I mean, I do some stuff with, like, Indiana and
okay.
Working over there a little bit.
So you're, like, more independent here, or are you working with someone here, like in Illinois?
That's me.
You're in charge of the whole Illinois operation? I'm
in charge of, like, sales for Illinois and, like, in charge of the market, so to say. It's, like, mostly, like, right now it feels like it's, like, wherever I'm needed. You know, I'll go, but...
It sounds like everywhere.
Yeah, we just brought Kendall to... We did a college tour with her at U of I, and... IU was the stop before, and so, you know, go down there every now and then.
So, like, you don't organize the events, obviously, right? Or
there's I say the marketing team has like incredible events, but I think they're mostly based in like New York and LA. Every now and then we'll do some in Chicago, but any other events, yeah, I'll put those on. And
because you're a good event planner,
I love doing that.
For people in Chicago, you're the one that planned the 818 party in July. And I'll probably bleep this one out. No, actually, no, because you put it out. There's a party in November 21st, right?
Yes.
That you also plan to as well by yourself with a budget. And I overheard, too, the conversation with you and Haney. It's fucking nuts. You're 25 doing this. Like, people have to understand you're doing this by yourself. So how do you, like, tell yourself, hey, like, I'm really doing this? Like, when you're having those dark moments, how do you remind yourself, hey, like, good job?
Like, when it's done? I get so stressed and overwhelmed, like, but it's like almost, I love like kind of like that adrenaline, and you know, like I want to go like above and beyond in everything that I do. So it's never like smooth sailing. It's never like, oh, we got this. We have it planned out. It'll happen. Like, oh my God, like we could do this, but like we have to do this now. We have to call this person. But it's like
above and beyond. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like that. You know, like the ideas never stop coming, even if it's like day before. And I think Hanny like matches my energy with it. He's like, let's get it down. I'm like, what can we do? And so he's definitely a dreamer. And so I think we really balance each other out really well. And, you know, he's been amazing to, you know, help out with it and, you know, really believe in me too.
Oh, 100%.
But I would say, like, there's never really any dark moments. I would say, like, I know the saying my mom has, somebody else definitely said it, but it was, you know, if it has to get done, it will. And I think that's kind of made the reason for my, you know, like, scrappiness and, like always like finding an answer, like always figuring it out, like, you know, when it comes to like Christy's planner and stuff and like everything, I'm like, I will figure out a way. I'm like, it has to get done.
You did,
figure it out. Yeah, but no, those I have a lot of definitely have like a lot of help like for those events, and I would say the reasons like they're so big and unique, I would say, is like my spin on it a little bit.
Okay.
But you know, I kind of wanted to bring a little bit of like, you know, like the LA New York feel to
Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of but what I think is my favorite thing about Chicago is like it's Midwestern hospitality in a city. And so I just think these parties, like, you could do them like build them out like crazy in like New York or LA, but I think there's something so special about like Chicago people. And it's just so, it kind of feels like wholesome and fun, and it's I love it. I cannot wait for the 21st.
We're the nicest assholes you'll ever meet. Yeah. We're really good people, genuine people. So it looks like same thing as me, and I say this and I quote this is what I say: I don't want the slice of the pie, I don't want a slice, I want the whole damn thing. Right? Where do you see yourself then in 5 years after you do the housing thing and then start expanding? What do you see doing?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's like, that's always like such a hard question for me because I see myself at like 40 different things. And, again, it's like figuring out, like going back to like, like my values and my mission and, who I want to be, which is like a lot of shit that I want to do. And so I have to like, write it out, get out there and like figure it out. And so I'd say one of the avenues is always like I definitely want to be able to do like Housey designs full time, whether it be, I guess with Housey designs or like within like another company. I love building companies.
Okay.
I love it. So I guess, being like entrepreneurial, whichever way I can do that, and 818's like definitely let me do that. And like they put like a lot of trust in me, and it's like the way, I think they built an incredible team. Like, we get together once a year in LA and it's just the best week. It's the best week ever. So we stay longer. Like our team stays longer so we can have like more time together. So we built like such an incredible team, and
it's like a family.
Literally, it's really funny. And so I'd say, I don't know, there's so much that I want to do. I think there definitely have to narrow it down. But, if I tend to dream bigger. And so it's something I've kind of like challenged myself and almost like working backwards from that. It's like, one of the things I want to do is like, start celebrity brands. And like, I want to be on like the ground floor for that. So like, like with 818, like I want to be, one of the first 5 people, like, figuring out, like doing all the research and like starting like from the ground up. And,
okay.
I've always been like super like fascinated by that, or, working in like the luxury market and, taking like 818 tequila and like working like internationally and figuring out like, those markets, which we are internationally. I think we're the number 1 tequila in China, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I have to look it up. I'm pretty sure, but I'm not.
Some alcoholics out there, huh? Yeah.
I have to check that out. Yeah, there's a lot of different avenues that I could take. 818's definitely helped me grow, and, I'd love to grow it more.
Sounds like you're going to be number 1 and you're going to take over Chicago. And do you think, I have another one too to ask you, but do you think being like a woman too as well plays a big role? Like, doesn't it make you feel good that you're doing it? Like you as a woman too are doing it. You know how a lot of...
Oh, I think transparently, I think all that's such bullshit. Like the whole like, oh, what's it like being... Every time I speak, I just spoke to University of South Carolina. And I spoke to ISU like not that long ago. And every single time I get the question like, oh, what's it like, what are the hardships of being like a women entrepreneur? I'm like, it's literally easier. It's because everyone, I don't know if it's like they don't expect you to be able to do it or whatever, but it's like everyone's like almost like in awe of like a women entrepreneur. Like, oh my God, that's so cool. Like, and regardless of like whatever, like, gender you are, I feel like entrepreneurs want to help other entrepreneurs. So that's why I wanted to help me. And like, I've had so many incredible mentors. And so I always kind of like, whenever people like ask that question, I'm like, cut that out of your head that it's harder, because it's not. We get more grants. I'm like, we get like basically more opportunities. It's, someone's, some old man's like, profiling you and like things like, oh, you can't do it, like you're not smart, whatever. I'm like, you're not. That. It's another person like saying, you can't do it, like use it, prove them wrong, but prove them wrong like silently, like prove them wrong with your actions, like use it. If anything, it's more motivation.
I asked that question too only just because there's always this debate saying that women actually have it easier, not tougher, just because in social media a woman could thrive more than a man. Before like the roles were reversed or whatever, like you said, the BS, but now like in this day and age with social media, like a woman's more easier to have that accessible luxury. Like you said, it's way easier for as a woman, and I feel like you've said it already too. And that's why
even like way easier. I feel like it's just like
opportunities open
easier.
more. Yeah.
You know, I just feel like there's like not as many, and so it's just
Which is why they want to give it opportunity too as well.
yeah.
Right.
And I think it's really cool and like really special because, you know, especially like when I speak to colleges, they inspiring women, maybe kind of like, you know, shutting that logic down where it's like, oh my God, I can do it.
Yeah.
You know, where I feel like, you know, you're not fed this narrative, but like, you know, you're told like, oh, you know, women have it harder, like, you know, especially in business. So I think I like to, you know, be that light that it's like, you know, it's not harder.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. I'm like, it's harder for men in some ways. It's harder for women in some ways. At the end of the day, I think being an entrepreneur, it's like very not neutral ground, but I think you know, the love of the entrepreneurial spirit kind of blinds any sort of, you know, stereotypes in it. And so I don't think there is a lot.
I like that answer. And let's just say if someone wanted to, they're just like, hey, I want to apply to the housing design. What traits do they need to have right now to be a part of your team?
I would say if you don't have that, I need you to have that entrepreneurial spirit. So like, cause one, I need to feed off of it, you know, and I want us to just like inspire each other and like work together. So one thing I always say, I'm like, you never work for me, like we work together.
I like that.
Like I'll never say like you work with me. And so, it's good. I would need someone to have, I have a few people actually like who I've talked to that, you know, want to apply for internships and stuff. And so I always have them like exactly like I did before. I'm like, write your, you know, future resume. Same thing my dad would tell me. I'm like, I want to know what you, especially because it helps me see like what they want to accomplish.
Yeah.
And, you know, how big they can dream. And, you know, I usually like give it back to them like, okay, go bigger. You know, like go bigger. Like, come on, you can do more than this. I'm like, stop limiting yourself, you know, stop saying like, oh, I want to be able to run a social media page. I'm like, how do I run like Christy Lukaziak's 2.6 million follower? Like, am I who? Get specific, you know, dream bigger. And so, you know, if they have that and they have that motivation, especially because where I'm at with the business, there's a ton of moving parts and I'm kind of doing like all of them, you know, here and there. And I do need to get better at delegating. So someone that's able to like take initiative, you know, and like, you know, if you have that spirit and, you know, you're taking it on, you don't need me to tell you or hold your hand and do it.
Not micromanage,
Yeah, I don't want to be able to micromanage you. I want you to feel like you're working with me also.
I like that. That's a good mindset to have. Well, if you're doing that now, you're 25 and you're doing that right now. And I feel like in a couple of years, you're going to take over. If not, you're going to take over like shit. Well, fuck. Sponsor us, please. No, but, well, Emily, I wanted to make this nice intro because I don't want to take more of your time. Is there anything that you wanted to say, like final thoughts, anything you wanted to talk about that we didn't touch on?
Oh my gosh, I don't know. I think you did a great job.
I try my best, you know, but thank you, Emily. Where can they reach you at? What's your name? Everything you can, your LinkedIn, your social security, if you want blood type.
Perfect. I don't even know those. I'm just kidding. I have no idea what my blood type is after, but, I would say it's very nice. I am really kind of the only Emily Housey there's not really, I haven't seen like any other ones. I feel like there's like a profile here and there, but, HouseyDesigns.com. I have a bunch of my painting and like branding stuff on there, and I'd say at Housey Designs LLC is my Instagram, and then my personal one is Emily Housey. Okay. Like 2 underscores in there or something because one other person has it. I don't know, like, oh, drives me nuts. Because I have Emily House at Emily Housey for every other social media platform but Instagram, and it drives me crazy. It's like little nitpicky things, and like it just doesn't match up whenever I put it up anywhere, but. Yeah. Those are social media. All right. Thank you, Emma, for your time. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Let's go.